Money, the podcast. I appreciate you jumping on. What I'm going to discuss today is why sales. When I decided that I wanted to find a way to make money outside of the job I had when I was really young, not even 20 years of age, I watched and paid attention to what people were doing, what they were earning. And I remember meeting a guy, and he told me that sales was the highest paid occupation in America. And I was 19 years of age, and I thought to myself, I didn't know that, and I don't know that he even showed me any data to prove that that was true. But he said to me, you're able to control your income because there's really no ceiling to it as long as you work hard and you're productive. That part made sense to me. So then I thought to myself, what am I going to sell, right? Like I got into real estate sales. That was probably not the easiest. Did something the other day, and the guy was like, well, you told people to sell insurance over real estate. I'm like, dude, I've just told people I get my insurance license quicker than my real estate license. I also would tell you there's things to sell that you don't need a license to sell. So it's all relative to what the barrier of entry is and what you're looking to do. But why sales? Well, I actually think everybody is in sales. So I think you're already in sales. So when people say to me, I'm not a salesperson. Well, if you're a parent, you're a salesperson. You sell your kids on what they're supposed to do, not do. If you're a teacher, you're a salesperson. If you're in the gym, you're a salesperson. If it's just you, you're selling yourself on what to do and not do on a daily basis. I don't care what you do in the world. You're selling somebody on something or yourself on something on a daily basis. And then you're buying or they're not buying on a daily basis. So you have to decide what it is that you're doing and what does that look like. So I think for me, why sales, it has been by far the most profitable thing I've ever done. And also, not only do you have the ability to make a lot of money on your own selling, but then as it pertains to building a business, I think the easiest business, if you create a product, license it, patent it, whatever your deal is, that's great. I've never done that. So I've never woken up and been like, here's my next best idea. Let me go ahead and pitch it and license it. And, it's going to make this will be the greatest pen ever. And here's why. Or this microphone, I created this technology. That's not me. So the easiest way to scale a business for me was to find products, sell them, get really good at selling them, and then hire other people to sell those products and get them really good at selling them, and then get them to hire other people. So my sales, why I believed in sales so much is it wasn't just the income I could make, it was the scalability of having passive income as well. Real estate, I bought, multiple properties, but it was very active income for a long time until I could build a sales team in real estate. And, I've done that so many different times, but what I love about sales is it's odd because a lot of folks will say, that's just not me. When the reality is that, and I'll say this a number of times because I think the people out there that have been good at sales means they worked hard, they found a good lead source, they learned to communicate with people, they learned to be presumptive when they were talking to people. There's no special skill set to being a good salesperson, like none at all. But a lot of folks, what they do is they will make you believe that. So number one reason why sales is anybody can do it, anybody can be successful at it, that you can sell from your home, because in today's world, virtually, you can about sell anything you want from wherever you want, that the sky truly is the limit as far as how much money you want to make, depending on what you get for leads and what product you're actually selling. The fourth deal for me is the fact that you can then recruit other people because whatever product you're selling, you probably can't get it to everybody in America on your own. So now it's like, how many people can I bring in to do the exact same thing? So it was the greatest active and passive income I had ever seen. And again, everybody could do it. I think for me, when I started building these sales organizations, I was able to remove that myth from people, that they, and I've heard that so many times in my life. And I always laugh when people tell me that. I'm just I wouldn't be a good salesperson. It's like, well, here's what you do on a daily basis. You're selling him or her on that. And then they start to internalize the fact that, yeah, they can. Now, why do most people choose not to be in sales? Well, they don't like the rejection part of it. Most people, when they go get a job, like when I worked at my jobs, any of them, as long as I did what they asked me to do, there was no chance I was going to fail. Like when I worked at UPS and they put me in trucks, had however many minutes, as long as I worked hard, and I unloaded the trucks faster than most. I like to work hard. I thought it was a good workout, so I was excited to do it. But I was really not going to fail. I was delivering packages. They put them on the shelves. I had this, what they call a dyad board. It was pretty easy. Like they'd signature. Like it wasn't that complicated. When I worked at the state of Connecticut, they gave me case files. I had to follow their protocol. So I didn't really deal with, the failure that you'll get as an independent contractor or a salesperson. But then again, when people said they don't like the failure, I'm like, I don't know if a client says no to me, I don't think I'm failing. And I think that was my struggle, that I didn't understand that people thought that way. So I had to kind of I didn't change the way I thought. I changed the way I thought other people were thinking. Because I thought that they were thinking the exact same way as me. I figured they were like, okay, you know what? You're right. Failing to me is just quitting at something you're not having success at. This is not, somebody telling you no 1, 2, 3, 7 times. I think, so for me, I've always been putting myself in a position where I could potentially fail. I could be told no. I could be unsuccessful. And I think that for me, that's always been the challenge, is how do I put myself in a position to understand that a lot of people, their thinking's wrong. And that doesn't mean but their thinking's wrong about sales. They're thinking that if they call 27 people and 22 say no, 5 say yes, and you make $1,000 every time somebody says yes, you made $5,000 for the day. That's a pretty good income. Now you might go, well, man, I failed miserably. Well, I look at a lot of professionals that if you use that mindset, every single Major League Baseball player that's a hitter is a failure, because 7 out of 10 times they don't succeed. But we somehow were like, no, they're not failing. It's like, well, then are there guys that played that game that couldn't handle the fact that 7 out of 10 times they were not going to succeed at the plate? I mean, and sometimes, a lot more than that, especially at, higher levels. So I think when you start dissecting what sales really is, and you start pulling the thing apart, and you start empowering people to feel that way, and you start letting them know that truly anybody can do it. And I think that's been one of my callings in business, is to let people know that the folks that tell you they're special are lying to you. And I've struggled with this with people, because they've told me, stop telling people that they, like, Sean, we want to, you should do this, or you should write a book, or come speak to our event, but stop telling you shouldn't tell everybody that they can achieve what you've achieved. And I'm like, but everybody could. It doesn't mean you will, but everybody could. Everybody can go do what I've done. I didn't wake up one day and invent something and go like, oh my God, here it is. I just took existing industries that were profitable, and I learned to sell the products, and then I learned to teach other people to sell it, and then I learned to teach them to teach other people. And I know we're supposed to, and that can make you hundreds of millions of dollars with education at a school nobody's ever heard of. And being raised by people that did not make any money, So my mom worked really hard at her jobs, but I live with my mom, and she didn't make money. I mean, we were, from an income standpoint, a low income family. That's the way it was. And I wouldn't trade that for the world, I wouldn't. But I really think that at the end of the day, when you start looking at industries to be in, whether it's part-time or full-time, when I look at families that are struggling, and I read all the data about how many families live in check to check, and, they're one paycheck away from being foreclosed on or being evicted. And I just think to myself, there's so many products to sell, and there's such an opportunity to sell. Why don't they just go do that in addition to their job? It doesn't mean they have to quit their job, but there's so many things out there that people want to buy. And there's so many things that we still need salespeople for. So I don't understand why people aren't out there selling. And I think a lot of it is what they don't know about sales. Now, some people just don't want to work hard. At the end of the day, that's also the truth too. There's some folks that, when I sit down and look at people and think about what they can do to fix their situation, and it's always work. And sometimes I just look at the person, I look at what we're laying out, I know how many hours we don't have to work to fix it. They put themselves in a bad financial position for 10 years, come to me and want me to fix it. Well, I can start heading you in the right direction, but it's going to be work. And then you can tell by talking to them if they're willing to do the work. If they're not willing to do the work, what the hell am I going to do? The answer is nothing. There's not a damn thing I can do with them, because they're not willing to do the work. So what am I going to do with people that are not willing to work? Nothing. The answer is I have no shot. And I think that why, sometimes it's like when you look at why something, why not? Why not sales? If you don't want to work and you don't want to grow and you're not willing to, because I love when people say you got to get uncomfortable. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Like being diagnosed with something that can kill you is uncomfortable. Hanging from a 210-foot building or a 80-story foot. I mean, 80-story building, 80-story foot, 80-story, like the 80th floor. I just, like, that's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Walking by a little waterway in Florida and an alligator jumps out at you, like, that's uncomfortable. Rattlesnake in your car, that's uncomfortable, I bet. But calling people up that ask for a product and telling them that you're calling them because they asked for the product and getting some information from them so they can buy the product they asked you for. How is that? When that's uncomfortable in your life, I guess you got a pretty unbelievably, oddly, weirdly comfortable life. Waking up where I woke up when I was a kid was uncomfortable. Going to my dad's apartment on occasion and all the dudes around partying their asses off when I was a little kid and some of the shit like that was uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Having guys, grab your money as you're trying to walk to the store when you're 8 and they're 20. That's uncomfortable. But like calling people. So I'm big on perspective and I'm willing to have a discussion about uncomfortableness. But at the end of the day, yeah, I don't know, man. If that's uncomfortable, that's really odd to me. And I don't do that to belittle what people think. I do it to empower them. Because I want people to understand that, like, if that is if you're like, man, I'm just really uncomfortable doing that, you should be so thankful for your life. And that's a good thing. You shouldn't look down on, you shouldn't be like, oh my God, I wish I had a lot more struggles. Be happy. You should be happy if you struggled. You should be happy if you didn't. Like your life is what you make out of it. It's what it's always going to be, But I think that I watch so many people that, and I don't, people will say, well, A students work for C students and this one does. And I'm just not big on overly generalized statements. I just don't. I'm just not. I think that, but what I do know is when you decide that you want to have a better financial situation and it's for your family, what would you not do to have that situation? As long as it's legal and ethical, what would you not do? So when people recruited me and they're like, well, listen, we could do this and that and the other thing. What are you willing to do to achieve this? I'm like, for my family, anything. What are you not willing to do? I can't think of anything I'm not willing to do. Literally. So I'm like, as long as it's legal and ethical, bro, like I ain't going to jail, but I'm good. Like I've done enough stuff when I was younger. I'm good here. I want to just keep moving and be free and live my life. But at the end of the day, I think that it's wise sales because as long as you're willing to make the appropriate sacrifices, and that's another word you got to define. People say it's a lot of sacrifices. I'm like, you mean working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, not hanging out with people and doing stupid shit? That's a sacrifice? No, sacrifice is my mom working 3 jobs, take care of 2 kids, like a lot of y'all did. That's a sacrifice. That's a major sacrifice. Like, I'm going to work 3 jobs, take care of these 2 fools. That is major. Somebody going through something medically. Those are, what I mean? A family member not eating because there's not enough food for everybody. A mom or a dad or both of them going without eating at night because there's just not enough food for everybody. That's a sacrifice. But you didn't watch the football game. You didn't go out partying with your friends. Those are sacrifices. So I think why sales? Because if you can provide yourself the appropriate perspective, if you can redefine those words that we throw around like, sacrifice and failure and uncomfortableness and really define them and start looking at what they mean to you. And if you can build a sales culture where those words, if they can mean the same to the people you work with, they do, and they have perspective. One of the things I always said to people as I built my sales organization is whatever you're getting ready to bitch, moan, or complain about, a couple 100,000 people died yesterday. They'd love to be alive to bitch, moan, and complain. So before we start getting excited and we start having a bitch, moaning, and complaining session, let's take a step back and figure out, like, is this what we really want to do? Is this where we really want to go? Like, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Does this make sense? And I think when you are able to unlock that positivity in your mindset, then you'll wish you found sales a lot earlier. I was blessed to find it and seek it out when I was at a young age. But I also, when I was growing up, my mom worked her 3 jobs. My father, I lived with my mom, and I didn't really even know what he did for a while, but I learned he was in sales, and he did very well. Now, my mom raised us, so my mom was the one who supported us, and my mom did all that stuff. But I'm thinking, and he didn't, he seemed to have a better schedule. And he wasn't working 3 different jobs to make his money. He worked a sales job, and he sold. And it really ingrained in me. And then I watched other people that were around at that time, and I was always inquiring about what they did for work. Even when I was 15, 16 years old, what's your dad do? What's your mom do? And categorically, I kept hearing people talk about sales. So, but I guess I'm just blown away at the small amount of people that are actually in sales. I mean, as a profession, I think everybody's selling every day, all day. But, when you find something that allows anybody to be successful, and if you've ever built something where you've helped somebody have more success than they've ever had in their entire lives, that's life-changing. Like, it's life-changing. And, you having a result for you is something. But when people ask me all the time, what would you want people to say about what you built? I want them to talk about how many people made money, not how many people that worked with me made money for their family that changed their financial future, that allowed their kids to go to college, take their kids on vacation, pay their mother's medical bills, to give back to charity. Like, I'd want people to talk about that. Because all I want to do is empower people that have given up on themselves or don't believe that they can be in sales. And in 2024, 25, like, dude, it's you watch these old school movies, and a guy said to me the other day, he's like, well, I went to a seminar for Jordan Belfort. And I'm like, why would you do that? And he's like, he's a great salesman. I'm like, dude, he committed fucking fraud. Like, couldn't anybody sell a fraudulent product? If I told you that if you buy this pen from me, it'll raise your IQ by 50 points, I'm sure I could sell hundreds of millions of pens, except I'm fucking lying to you. So I committed fraud. Like, what about that? And that was even stupid in the movie. Sell me this pen. Dude, shut up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stupid, But at the end of the day, that's where we are in this. Like, well, that's a salesperson. Committing fraud doesn't make you a good salesperson. We have all these misnomers of who can sell and who can and what do they do and all these stupid. None of you in today's world, listen to me right now, would let somebody come up to you, talk to you that way, and act that foolish and stupid about things they say with all their cute sales tactics. All you got to do is be a human being and connect with other human beings. You got to be just an adult human that can talk to other people. Be communicative, listen to them, ask, and be honest and direct with people. Now, the beautiful thing about sales is you'll be crazy successful as long as people trust you. Because, not thankfully, I wish they didn't, but there are scumbags in the world like Jordan Belfort, who stole people's money. I mean, it wasn't my grandma, my grandpa, they didn't have any money to buy anything. So, but had it been, you taking my last 28 grand from my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, my mom. She didn't have any money either to do that. This is pretty evil shit. But we get these pretend folk heroes, like these people are good at sales. And the reality is you can outsell him any day of the week. I mean, if you're going to commit a crime, he's going to beat you at it, probably, because he doesn't care. But if you're selling something for real, he can't compete with you. It's all about trust. What's the number one fear of everybody? They don't want to be lied to. Number one fear of every client: don't lie to me. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I don't want to find out I got something I could have gotten better quality. I don't want to be manipulated. I don't want it to be fraudulent. I don't want you to make claims you can't stand behind. And, for me, I built a sales career for 30 years where I always told my kids, I want to be out walking around anywhere, and if somebody walks up to me and sees me, No matter what I sold them, whenever it was, I'm like, I'm happy to see them. I stand behind what I sold them, how I explained it, what the dynamic was, what the relationship was. That is success in sales. So a lot of people get confused about, they watch too much TV. It's like you get no different than guys that watch too many gangster movies and they wake up and they think they're a gangster. It's like, no, dude, you just watch a lot of gangster movies. You're not a gangster. Nobody's afraid of you. Like, just relax, but we get so caught up in the fictitious. Sales is real. It's a lot of fun. It's very gratifying. You can make a lot of money doing it. You can help a lot of other people make a lot of money. You can do it on your schedule. It doesn't discriminate. Anybody can do it. And the reality is, if you're a good person and you shoot people straight, you'll be really good at it. This idea that somehow you need to be, that's not what anybody wants in any capacity. So why sales? Why not? For all the reasons I mentioned, it's the greatest occupation, I do believe, in America. And as far as a lot of things I read about how much money you make per person, per salesperson, that it seems to be, if not the most, one of the most lucrative occupations there is in America. But a lot of people just got to stop thinking about what they think it really is. Give yourself a shot to find a product you believe in that you can move and sell. If you don't believe in the product, don't try to sell it. That's the other thing. Don't try to sell it if you don't. If you'd brought me, and I keep talking about this, but if you had brought me in to sell stocks to people that had no value and rob them, I would never have done it. Ever. So I would have been out. Like, I'm not your guy. Like, y'all, that's on you. I don't believe in it. I'm not going to do it. I ain't screwing people over. And I sure as hell ain't screwing people over that are broke. I ain't screwing anybody over, but I'm not screwing people over that are broke, that are living check to check already, that are vulnerable. Absolutely not. So, in today's world with so many calls you get in the spam, this one's doing this, and you're looking out for this, and your credit card, and who's doing this, and who's taking this, man. Unfortunately, in today's world, if you can just be straight up with clients, because so many people are, you'll be unbelievably successful. So, why sales? Again, why not? Give it a shot, whether it's part-time, full-time. If you're struggling where you need to be financially, give it a shot. If you're not, then don't do it. But it's a great opportunity. If you have somebody that's struggling, introduce them to it. If they don't know what to sell, tell them to find something they really believe in. Somebody's selling the product. And it doesn't mean you're going to get rich. Maybe you'll make money, extra money that you needed to support your family. Maybe you'll have a different challenge and you'll enjoy it. But I'll tell you, man, it's been empowering and freeing, and allowed me to make a very good living for my family. And I've loved every minute of it. So I'm probably one of the biggest fans you'll ever meet of people being in sales, whether it's part-time, full-time, and using that to live the life that they want to once they find the product they believe in. And they put the work in, and they realize how simple it is to go make money in sales. So I appreciate you. Send this to somebody that should be in sales, is in sales, doesn't like sales. Anybody else, if you like the movie Wolf of Wall Street and you want to say I'm an idiot, send it to them, and they can be like, Sean's an idiot, shouldn't have said that. If you don't like the movie, send it to somebody else. They can be like, no, he's an idiot, he shouldn't have scammed people. I do like the movie. I just wish it was fictitious, because I don't like that people did it in real life. So thanks for joining me on Pick Money, the podcast. I appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, share. We'll talk to y'all next week.